welcome back to shop. So I managed within the past couple of weeks to get the last bits and pieces of the trap build in, the actual real world parts. I got the vector plate in, the card edge connectors, and the ribbon cable that I was waiting on, and also my little air pump came, and that'll be for the smoke effects. So today's video, what we're going to do is turn this piece of 16 gauge aluminum. This is 8 inches by 48 inches, so it's cut right off of a sheet. And we're going to turn that into the two side plates, the front plate, and two other smaller plates that are currently printing out to use as templates or as we speak. So why don't we come here on the bench? I'll show you the rest of the parts that I got, and we'll do some layout for these. Alright, just to show you the last few parts that came in, what we were waiting on. These are the vector plates here, so this is the pedal, and this is for the side. And I ordered these off of gbfans.com. It's basically a message board for prop making and Ghostbusters related things about that. So I bought those from them, and I obviously remember I said that the side plate was a cut down version of this. Well, I just bought what they had on there, and they look perfectly fine and acceptable. So this will be the pedal, and this is the side plate. Also, I just got these guys from just local electronic stores. You can get it's the card edge connectors that I needed, plus the 20-pin ribbon cable. And then I got this off of Amazon, and this is going to be the air pump. That is going to be the heart of the smoke system when we install it. So basically what we got to do right now is turn these plastic parts into some nice shiny aluminum parts. So let me get that plate of aluminum up here and get a good angle on it. So hopefully this camera doesn't get blown out by the reflection. I apologize if it does. So I printed these parts out to use as a template, and measuring them up against the actual parts that they're going to be going on, surprisingly, those holes line up perfectly. Okay, so I can use this whole thing as the template. If we had a mismatch between the holes in this plate and the holes in this printed piece, then what we could do after the fact is kind of use this as the outside edge, outside shape, and then transfer punch these holes into the plate when we're done. But we can actually use this for everything. So all I'm going to do right now is, actually let me grab another thing. I just got a couple of 1, 2, 3 blocks here. Nothing special. You don't even need these, but I'm just using these as a nice straight edge to cradle this piece. You can use a carpenter square, will work perfectly fine. But I have these, so I'm going to use them. So I'm just going to do that. And we just need to trace out our piece. And there it is there. So now to cut this out, you could use a multitude of things. You could use a bandsaw if you have it. I do not happen to have one down here. You could use a table saw with just a carbide blade. It's a little harder to do on something that's this thin, but it is doable. You can even use an angle grinder. An angle grinder on aluminum is going to tend to want to melt it rather than cut through it. But you can even go at it with a hand hacksaw. Well, I'm a little bit lazy, so we're not going to use a hacksaw, but what I do have is a decent scroll saw with a decent metal blade. This one here happens to be the finest pitch one that I have, and this should work perfectly fine. So why don't we go clamp this down to something, and we can just cut it out using the jigsaw here. Okay, so here I just have one of those foldable workbenches here. I have the piece clamped to both sides of this thing here, so it's not going to go anywhere. And all this is here is just a weight. This is actually a base to an IKEA lamp that I had mounted on my lathe, and I kept this because I figured it would come in handy. The only reason why I'm putting this on here is it has a foam backing and it's really heavy, so it'll absorb any vibration, so you won't hear the metal just changling away. So that'll absorb a lot of the vibration. And all we're going to do is just, normal saw. Just I'll probably hit this piece first here. We'll go into here. So this is going to be the loosest piece, so this probably will make the most noise. Let's see if we can get it. And on this saw, depending on the quality of your saw, I have a little insert in here. You can see that line. That line is perfectly in the middle of this blade. The blade really isn't that thick. Dimensions aren't super critical, so I can just split the difference, put this line right on there, and we should be pretty much good to go. And there you go there, and see, I made a mistake. So I screwed that up a little bit. I kind of just saw me going for a second time. Yeah, it's because I kind of went off at an angle there, but that's not a big thing. I'll just cut another piece and we'll be perfectly fine. So, you know, you make mistakes, you can fix it. Not a big thing. But you can see it works perfectly fine. Relatively easy to do. If you really wanted to be super accurate, you can actually get a straight edge and clamp it to it. But, you know, I'm just going by eyeball. But that's a little too far off for my taste. So I'll redo this and we'll come back. And actually, I'm going to do both of them. So I'm going to get the two long ones done. And then we'll come back. Okay, so all fixed. But just to negate that screw up, I extended the line further. So that way I can use the guide here and line it up. Okay, so I got the last three pieces laid out here. So it's these two here. I printed them out in green just because I have a lot of green plastic in this. So this is the front. This will be on the left side and this will be on the right side, I believe. So the way I have this set out, as you can see the way I'm cutting. So I'm cutting vertical in here, 2, 3, and then 4. And then I'm going to do 5 across here, which will drop out these two pieces, and then I'll do this 6 cut across the top out here, which will drop out this piece, and then we'll just notch the inside of this here. And that's the sequence of cutting. So I have the lines extended enough to be able to follow easily with the jigsaw guide there, so that's what we're going to do. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. And then we'll just notch this out. So let me clamp this back in. Okay, so a little bit of finishing work by hand. What we want to do is just put like a slight taper on the edge of it. And I'm just doing that with a mill file. Just this is a smooth. Let me grab my file card. One thing with aluminum, the file, it tends to load up your file pretty quickly, so you want to make sure you clean it pretty good. But I'm just holding this down by hand. It doesn't have to be anything special. And hold it at about, you know, maybe a 30-degree angle or so. And just work that edge. And you just got to make sure that you don't do one side more than the other. But doing it by hand like this really lets you control the depth of it. You can get something to kind of to either screw this down or clamp it down, but for me it was just getting in the way, and I had better luck just doing it like this. And you're just watching that little shiny spot come up there. And you're just putting a slight taper on there, nothing huge. Something along those lines. And then just go once or twice on the back side. That's going to get rid of that burr. And you can see, maybe if I zoom in here, maybe it'll show up. So you can see this edge here compared to the edge that I just filed there. Okay, still have a little bit of a burr on there, but what you can do is just get a piece of sandpaper. Couple of swipes, and that's completely gone. So let me get it back in frame. So you can see it there, and I don't know if you can kind of see the, trying to get this in frame, the bevel on the edge there. You can see it there. Not much, and we don't want a knife edge. And just to show you that there's no burrs on this, okay, I didn't cut myself, not scratching the wood. So I'm going to do that to all the corners there. Okay, so what I've done here is just clamp the plastic printed piece over the aluminum piece, and we're getting some transfer punches that fit these holes pretty well. And all we're doing is transferring the hole pattern from that plastic piece to our aluminum panel. So this, and that big one in the middle might be, it'll fit, but the plastic might not be tall enough to catch the edge of this, and it isn't. So that one I'm just going to have to eyeball. But like I said, nothing here is too critical. That looks pretty damn good there. So now I'm just going to do a quick visual inspection, make sure I got them all before I pull this off. And if I can get the light correct, you can see the punch marks there, and that's our hole pattern. So now we can just drill that. Okay, transfer punches are not center punches, even though people treat them like they are. So we're just going to go back over here into our little transfer marks, and we're going to deepen those holes. Okay, so now we have those holes much deeper. Our drill will ride in there. So what we want to do is, the outside four are going to be 9/64. Alright, so I'm running this drill press relatively slow, and we are going to be holding on to this. If you're afraid of this spinning, which you kind of should be, by all means clamp it down, but I want it to be able to float. We're just going to use our hand and go slow and gentle, and we should be okay. Actually, what I need to do is bring this table up. still in frame there. Actually get a little bit of a better. And let's zoom in. Okay, so okay, there are our 4 outside edges. Now we're gonna trade off this bit for an 1/8 inch bit. And just confirm that this is 1/8 inch. Should be, but let me confirm. Yep. Okay, now I'm going to drill all the holes, including that 3/8 hole in the middle. And we're going to trade that bit out for a 3/8 bit. And we are now through. Alright, so I had to go get a countersink here, and all we're doing, going over where we broke through on the bottom, and we're just removing that burr. And there is our plate drilled. Okay, so now that these panels are good to go, we need to prep them for a finish that we want. And I don't want a nice, pristine, shiny finish on that, but I want something that has a little bit of scratches in there, some scuff marks, like somebody over the years has been rubbing it down and, you know, cleaning it off and polishing it. And on a test piece here, I came up with this, and it looks pretty good. You can kind of see those light scratch marks in it, but if you look at it, I mean, it still looks nice and clean, but we're not pristine and shiny. So that looks pretty good to me. That's kind of what I want going for this. So the way I came up with this is just through experimentation. Let me see how this works. This is some 600 grit sandpaper. We'll see if we can kind of get those scratches maybe a little bit finer. See how this looks. You know, it's just all experimenting. I'm not even pressing that hard. I'm kind of keeping it in one stroke there, and it actually looks kind of worse. That makes it look crappier. Alright, so we're going to go with the technique that I had before. So what this is 120 grit sanding screen, more or less for drywall. So what we're going to do is take our piece here, make sure that we got no burrs holding anything up, and we're as straight as possible here. Actually, the first thing we can do is just take it and see, I haven't really found a good way to kind of stick this down. I mean, I have a surface plate I can stick that down to if I really want to, but I kind of don't want to ruin my surface plate. So anyway, I'm gonna do this just by hand. Try to keep it as straight as possible here, and we're gonna rub off that layer of oxidization that we got on there and scuff her up pretty good. Make sure you get the edges. Again, we're mimicking kind of somebody over the years cleaning this thing, and it's sliding in and out of holders and racks and things like that. So we don't really have to be perfect. We just want to be relatively uniform in what we're doing. Alright, so that looks well and good. Kind of scratched up there. We got that oxidization layer off the aluminum there. In all the places. Got the really deep scratches out of it. Now I have a piece of red Scotch-Brite pad here, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna again pretty uniformly, same direction all the time, and we're gonna go, so you see how that kind of toned down those scratches there and made it look like, you know, years of being wiped down. We got a little bit of a scuff mark here. I think that's just from this getting loaded with aluminum powder, but alright, you see the kind of look I'm going for there? Alright, that looks pretty uniform. And then what I'm going to do now is I kind of want to get the grime out of those inside areas there. And what this is just some Brasso that I've had laying around forever. And we don't want to polish this, but again, same direction as your scratches. You can see what is taken off is all the stuff left behind in those little grooves. Sorry if I'm hitting the camera on you. So, doing that. And then just clean off that residue. Now my hands have some dirt and some grime on there too, so as soon as I touch this it's gonna kind of smear on there, but you kind of get the idea of what we're doing. So this kind of makes it look like it was at one point in time, nice and shiny, but it's been scuffed and worked. And that there is kind of what we're left with. And again, we're going for a worn look, so we basically just turned that there into that, and it's more uniform, and it looks, like I said, like somebody's been over the years has been cleaning it, scrubbing it down. You know, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It all depends on what kind of look you're going for. If you're going for pristine, fine, go ahead, polish the crap out of it, but just show you. So obviously this one here has been sitting in the back room forever and a day somewhere, but you see kind of what that looks like. You can actually see the rust on that. That's just obviously wasn't part of the movie, but you can kind of see a little bit more here. Kind of what I'm going for. More like this here. Just nice and uniform. No big really dings or scratches or gouges in it. Just a nice uniform kind of scuffed finish. Just like that. Again, this is all personal preference. Some of you guys may not like this. Some of you guys might like it. But that was my technique of doing that. So we're going to do the other pieces here. And the other side plate. And then we'll be back. Okay, so we pretty much got this all squared away. I got the finish I was going for. You can kind of see there. And the way this works is this is going to go pretty much there. This one is going to go there, and then this plate is going to live there with a resistor there, then our aluminum knob there, black plastic knob there, these two knobs here, and these two square knobs there. That's pretty much what the side plates are going to look like. What sits here are two round rods, which I haven't made yet. We'll be making those soon, and I also have to make the handle. So those are the three next actual fabrication jobs that I need to do, and the rest is assembly. So more than likely on the next video, what we're going to do is we are going to actually put the trap together, basically make the plastic box with nothing on it, and then we're going to weather it, and then we're going to take it apart and then put the guts in. So that way there we can get the weathering all together without any of the electronics in it and without any of the LEDs or anything getting in the way. And I'll show you some ways of actually dry brushing and what we're going to do to actually weather this thing. But this is all the side plate fabrication done. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hope you're enjoying this series. If you are, give me a thumbs up, like down below, comment, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.